Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about Gotham Knights and Plague's Tale and other games targeting 30 FPS in the 9th generation. We're taking a trip back in time. Get your dial up ready and let's get into it.
We're on a mission from God.
Welcome back to the channel. If you are new, please hit the subscribe button. I do content like this weekly going forward, and I do a podcast every Friday, 8 p.m. EST. Jump into that and check it out. Let's get straight into it. So over the week, the Gotham Knights devs from WB Montreal would let the community know that Gotham Knights will be targeting 30 FPS and will not have a performance mode. This is what she had to say. She said, I know many of you are wondering about the availability of performance mode for Gotham Knights on consoles. Due to the types of features we have in our game, like providing a fully untethered co-op experience in our highly detailed open world, it's not as straightforward as lowering the resolution and getting a higher frames per second. For this reason, our game does not have a performance quality toggle option and will run at 30 FPS on consoles. So I'm kind of reacting to this as it happens. I tried to stay away from this during the week. So to me, there's plenty of games that operate co-op untethered that don't run at 30 FPS. If you look at Halo, Halo is tethered, but it has a massive area. Tether the co-op. That's fine. I think that's absolutely fine. You're playing a co-op game. You should be working together on one objective or a mission. It's great to have the city open to everyone, and you can just split up and run around. That's wonderful. But if it sacrifices 60 FPS, I think the general consensus has been, and my personal feelings are, I don't want to see that. I want 60 FPS. I bought a console. These consoles, look at the PlayStation 5. I don't know if you guys can see that, but up there it says 8K, 4K 120, and HDR. Look, we've yet to really see these consoles do what they're supposed to do. There's plenty of tools that these developers could be using to boost performance. This sounds to me like a design choice, or it hasn't been fully optimized. My first thought was that they do have ray tracing on PC. I'm not sure. I haven't been able to confirm whether it has ray trace shadows. But my first thought is that they're using ray tracing in some way, and they haven't developed the screen space component. So instead of having that in there, with the screen space reflections, they develop that. You can switch that on and off. You can have ray tracing, all that. Whereas ray tracing really does it for you, so it takes some of the work out of it. I'm not saying that devs are lazy. That's definitely not what I'm saying, but they have deadlines they have to meet and things have to be cut. But what should never be cut is 60 frames per second. That to me is absolutely nuts. And using a tether as a reason for you to not have 60 FPS. What about single player? When you're in single player, you're untethered, and other key features. Well, what are those features? I mean, they've got to be graphical. The reason that we can do 60 FPS is because the CPUs in the Xbox Series X and the PS5s are beasts. Plus, you've got an SSD that can feed that information to your CPUs a lot quicker. This, to me, is inexcusable. People don't want that. Yeah, I mean, I personally don't want it. If you do want it, let me know down in the comments. But I'll move to what else kind of moved through the community. So Callisto Protocol took a little bit of a shot at Gotham Knights. They said, we would love to inform you all that we will be shipping globally on December 2nd. And yes, we'll have a 60 FPS performance mode. Ouch. When other developers are taking a shot at you, that's a bit of a problem. The other game that's released recently that is actually at 30 FPS is Plague's Tale. It runs quite well, but you can get it to run in 40 FPS. Now, to me, there's a big difference, a big jump from 30 FPS to 40 FPS. Still don't think it's acceptable, but 40 FPS is much better than 30 FPS. It's an incremental jump when you look at the numbers, but the difference is humongous. Personally, to me, I have noticed. So what it says here is a Plague's Tale Requiem is a true next-gen game, and it shows in its demanding performance, which is true. The consoles run at 30 FPS in 60 Hertz mode and at 40 FPS in 120 Hertz mode. The game also supports VRR. The Xbox Series version is the most stable of consoles. PS5 have performance issues in some areas, especially in open spaces with rats. The Xbox Series S has some clipping and shadows, textures, vegetation, draw distance, and reflections. I can attest to that. It does. It's not game breaking, and it doesn't take you out of the experience. There's a reason that I'm going through all this. PC version will have a ray tracing patch soon. We're not really worried about the PC version, so we'll move on. A developer came out and spoke on the fact that Gotham Knights was at 30 FPS and 30 FPS games. He's since deleted his account. His name is Lee Devonald. He said some very contentious things. He called the Series S a potato and that it was bottlenecking the generation. And we've heard other developers say that. Dying Light 2, they spoke about how the Series S was bottlenecking that game, and then a month later, 2 months later, they came out with a 60 FPS patch, and apologized publicly for saying that. Now look, 60 FPS is possible because of the CPU. It's not the GPU. The Series S has exactly the same CPU as the Series X. Yes, it's not that simple, and you lean across on the GPU and you lean back on your CPU when you need more overhead, and that's absolutely true. I'm not a developer. I have spoken to a lot of developers though, so I've gotten a very layman's understanding of kind of what goes on in the back end there. There was a response, the problems of having a beard, right? There was a response by, I don't even know how you say that, Ralger, to Lee Devonald about the Series S comment. He said, developers should be respected. That's something else that Lee said. Although you demand respect, you call the Series S, on which many employees have worked, a hard potato. You then insinuate that Sony and Microsoft would mislead and maybe the S is to blame, even though you admit you don't know the reasons for it being 30 FPS. He did apologize for that. And then obviously the internet went a bit nuts with this whole potato thing. The guy's deleted his account. Lots of people have commented on it being a potato. The actual Series S runs at better performance than the PS5. Yes, it's at 180 and the PS5 is at 1440p. However, and the difference is huge when you go resolution. That is a big difference. However, that's the GPU running your graphical resolution. So it's absolutely nuts. Look, guys, I just wanted to say to you today that in my personal opinion, I don't think that 60 FPS at this point in the generation, especially going into next gen, is acceptable. I don't think I won't be buying the game. I was going to buy that game. I will now not be buying the game unless I hear some news that there's going to be a 60 FPS mode. I may have a look at it. It may be fine in the game. Some 30 FPS are superior to other 30 FPS. Who knows? I'll check it out once it's come out, read the reviews and have a look at it. But from what I've heard, it's not promising right now. And it's a very poor design choice, I think, by, Warner Brothers Montreal. I just cannot think why you would think gamers would accept that after we've had most of the generation being at 60 FPS. There's plenty of examples of games that would be tough to optimize for 60 FPS that have been. So to me, again, unacceptable. But guys, let me know what you think down in the chat. Do you think that 60 FPS is what we should be aiming for this generation? Or are you happy with 30 FPS, some ray tracing and some great graphics? Is that your target? What suits you? Let me know down in the chat. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.